Welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. We're kicking off hour 2 here with a whopper of a guest, one of my favorites for sure. He should be. He's also the founder of the Trends Research Institute. Hey, Gerald, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
I'm well. Thanks for having me on, and happy Valentine's Day.
So, Gerald, what's happening? I know you got a lot of trends to talk about. This coronavirus thing, I think it's half a hoax because I know China's on their holiday right now and falls right around the holiday time. But what are your thoughts? What's the trend you see?
Goodbye, Rosie, queen of coronavirus. See me and Julio down by the schoolyard. The numbers aren't anything, as we look at them. We did a whole story now at Trends Journal this week, where they got about 1,500 people dead in a population of 1.4 billion people. Take a look at what happened last year in the United States with the flu. Over 60,000 people died. Oh, again, somebody died in the Philippines. Oh yeah, no kidding. So to us, the numbers, it's worse than the SARS virus. Oh yeah, how many people died from the SARS virus? Oh, about 800. 800 in a population back then of 6.5 billion. So, yes, this is a virus. It's a flu, whatever it is. And when you look at the data of who's dying, it's the chronically ill and the very elderly. So we don't think it's as big as, they're saying it is in terms of what the health risk is.
Gerald, a couple things. Number one, I've been advocating to my audience that drinking Corona beer is a fine way to keep yourself away from the coronavirus. And also the Lysol dual action wipes, they fight the human coronavirus. So I've been advocating for that. I don't put a lot of weight in it, but I want to ask you something because you know a lot. You know into the future sometimes. But what if I told you that the SARS virus, the super spreader of the SARS virus came out in 2003 on the day before the Chinese New Year started, when they shut down all their factories for 1 month. And now this year, the first reports were hit international news were the day before Chinese New Year. So my conspiracy theory is that they know that they're shut down, so they want to paralyze the global markets a little bit so people don't get happy with their other suppliers, so they scare the crap out of everyone. What do you think about that? Is this a coincidence?
I don't know. No, because, you look at China has a real big economic problem, and this is going to make it worse. They have a debt of over $40 trillion. A good debt to GDP ratio is about 80 to, about 80. They have a debt to GDP ratio of over 300. They also have inflation, and they have stagflation. So the economy's not growing. This is going to slow it down. So that means they're going to have to lower interest rates and pump more money in. And they really don't want to do that because that's going to devalue their currency, the yuan. And, people say, oh, they want to devalue it so they could export more. Yeah, to some extent, but they're huge importers. And so the price of everything that they buy goes up. And they're the world's largest energy importer. So they don't want to spend, because oil is dollar-based, petrodollars, they don't want to pay more for all of that stuff. Copper, everything that they're importing. So no, I think this is, it's something that it's happening, and it's really hurting their economy, and it's going to slow down the global economy to a minor extent.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like this will have little to no effect. But I was reporting last week, a lot of people send me notes. Hey, what do you think about this? How will this affect China? And some of the stuff with all the crazy geopolitical stuff going on, some of the headlines get lost. But just recently, China lowered their reserve rates for their banks from 20% to 10%. So for those of us in the know, China basically owns all their banks. So they're nationalized. No one owns anything there. So I thought that was a very bad sign. It showed me that they kind of are afraid that some of their mid to larger businesses may start defaulting, so they need to give them more cash to keep them rolling. And the 10% that's left, to me, that's their piggy bank versus the 40 trillion. Could it be of a real meltdown?
Yes, because again, what I mentioned is they don't want to lower their value of their currency because You just said it. All of the debt that they have, and a lot of that debt by the corporations and the businesses is dollar denominated. So now the lower their currency goes, the more it costs to pay back the loans that they have. And now we're starting to see defaults happening with a number of companies. So no, this is going to hurt China. There's no question about it. And they're in a precarious situation. Here's the thing that we're looking at that we find very interesting. And that is, look at how they closed down the whole show, putting what? About 60 million people into quarantine, and then really in total control of the country of 1.4 billion people. Look at the power of that government where they could stop everything anytime they want. And here's the message for everybody. They're going to do it in a government near you when they have to. This shows you the power of the militarized governments and how they could put the people under control like that.
It's absolutely true, and I've been warned is going into all of these Caribbean countries and basically buying their infrastructure, buying their ports, building them new airports, putting in the Huawei 5G service. And as far as I'm concerned, they're all on the China dole right now. So when you say they have some problems, they're bringing their style to a theater near you, I'm fearful that they could start instituting that across the whole Caribbean and be a lot closer striking distance than halfway across the planet.
Oh, look, as I say, the business of China is business. The business of America is war. China's buying up, like you pointed out, they're buying up ports all over the world. They're building infrastructure, their Belt and Road Initiative. No, the 20th century was the American century. The way this is going now with China and what they want and the power that they have and the amount of people that they have, the 21st century is shaping up to be the Chinese century. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth as to who's going to take out who first.
Well, it may be starting out as their century, but it's starting out on the wrong year for that. This year is the year of the rat for China. So I'd like to start out with something better than that if you think they're going to be on the upswing. One of the things I've also been warning, I do a Monday morning newsletter called the Monday Morning Quarterback. It's free. I give it to all my viewers who are interested in it. And I've been warning that most people don't understand that they're one of our biggest debtors, yet they're still a net buyer of U.S. Treasuries, notes, bills, and they're still a net buyer. If they ever showed up in an auction because they're running out of dough and they weren't a net buyer, we'd probably be down 5,000 that day. And God forbid, to me, the double black swan is if they ever show up at a Treasury auction as a seller, life as we know it would probably be over. So they don't need to come here with their military. They can just show up as a seller of our treasuries.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's the business of China, and they got the dough to do it. By the way, the Japanese now are buying up more treasuries too, so it's balancing out a little bit. But this is another thing to watch too with gold prices. Gold prices are very strong right now. As we're talking, they're about $15.80 an ounce. And this is despite the dollar being at a high since October. It just keeps getting stronger. So usually the stronger the dollar gets, the weaker gold gets, because gold is dollar-based. And so all these other countries and people that want to buy gold with their currency going down, it costs them more. So gold prices should be going down, but they're going up. That, to me, is a very important signal to watch.
Yeah, I'm watching gold, and I know you're not a big fan of cryptocurrencies, but some of my feeling is we've seen a big run lately in Bitcoin, and I think, there's been a little bit of a surge in buying, and China overall has kind of come out with some more soothing remarks about cryptocurrency. I think the, equivalent of the oligarchs in China know things are bad, and the preferred choice to get some money out of China is Bitcoin. That thing's been running a little bit too. It's kind of like, I guess, an alt for younger people to gold.
Yes. No, I'm positive on cryptos. By the way, very important. China is now, just came out, they are going purely very soon with a digital currency.
Wow.
This news just broke. And so that means that they'll know every penny that you spent, where you spent it, how you spent it. Total control. They're going to have all digital currencies. They're doing it all.
They'll know where they wound up. So that's one of the reasons I think some people that are really in the know are trying to get into some Bitcoin now and get it to some safe location. So there's been a little bit of a run-up. I think there'll be a little bit more. But Gerald, thank you so much. Really appreciate your outlooks. I agree with you so much on the corona thing. I've been telling people, namaste, stay calm. More people are dying from the flu here in America than even were infected by this thing in China. So thank you for giving us your insightful thoughts, as always.
Well, thank you so much for having me on.
All right, we'll check back with you soon. That's Gerald Celente, one of the greatest forecasters of the modern era. Been right way more than wrong, and you'll be right way more than wrong if you stay right there. We're going to take a quick break, come back with Pavlina Oster right after this.